The game is over. The final move is being prepared. The piece that will end the 50-year dominance of the dollar is about to be placed on the board. And when it lands, there will be no recovery, no countermove, no negotiation, only surrender. For decades, China has been playing the long game. While America printed money and accumulated debt, China accumulated gold. While the West measured wealth in paper promises, China measured wealth in tons of refined metal. While the Federal Reserve manipulated markets and debased the currency, the People's Bank of China quietly built the largest gold reserve in human history. They did it in secret. They did it patiently. They did it with a precision that makes Western financial planning look like children playing with toys. And now, according to sources that I will reveal tonight, they are preparing to show their hand. They are preparing to announce their real gold reserves. Not the fictional 3% of reserves that they officially report. The real number. The number that will shock the world. The number that will instantly revalue gold and silver. The number that will expose the dollar as the naked emperor it has always been. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Silverstorm Daily, and tonight I am going to explain why China is preparing what can only be described as a financial military parade. A display of monetary might that will reshape the global order. A checkmate move that the West cannot counter because the West sold its gold decades ago. The endgame has arrived, and only those who hold precious metals will survive what comes next. Let me start with the intelligence that has prompted this emergency broadcast because the sources are credible and the implications are staggering. Over the past 72 hours, 3 separate pieces of information have converged that point to an imminent announcement from Beijing regarding China's true gold reserves. The first piece comes from diplomatic channels in Switzerland, where representatives of the People's Bank of China have been meeting with officials from the Bank for International Settlements. The agenda of these meetings is classified, but sources indicate that the discussions have centered on the revaluation of gold within the international monetary system. The second piece comes from shipping data that shows an unprecedented movement of gold from refineries in Switzerland to destinations in China. Over the past 6 months, documented gold shipments to China have exceeded the reported imports by a factor of 3. Someone is moving gold to China in quantities that dwarf the official statistics. The third piece comes from Chinese state media, which has begun publishing articles that discuss gold in terms never before used by official sources. The language has shifted from describing gold as a commodity to describing gold as a strategic monetary asset essential for national security. This rhetorical shift always precedes major policy announcements in China. Each of these pieces individually might be dismissed as coincidence. Together, they form a pattern that cannot be ignored. China is preparing something big, something that involves gold, something that will be announced publicly for maximum impact. The timing suggests that the announcement could come within weeks, possibly coordinated with a major international summit or financial event. The nature of the preparation suggests that this is not a routine update to reserves data. This is a strategic revelation designed to achieve specific geopolitical objectives. Now let me explain what China's real gold reserves actually are, because the official number is a laughable fiction. The People's Bank of China officially reports gold reserves of approximately 2,300 tons. This number has been essentially unchanged for years. It would place China's gold holdings at roughly 3% of total foreign exchange reserves, far below the levels held by the United States, Germany, Italy, France, and other major economies. The official number implies that China has been accumulating gold at only modest rates despite being the largest gold producer and one of the largest gold importers in the world. The official number is a lie. It is a strategic lie designed to disguise China's true accumulation while they complete their preparations. The actual gold reserves of China, according to analysts who have tracked production, imports, and domestic consumption, are estimated to be between 20,000 and 30,000 tons. Let that number sink in. 20,000 to 30,000 tons. That would make China's gold reserves larger than the reported holdings of the United States. It would make China the dominant gold power on the planet. It would fundamentally alter the balance of monetary power between East and West. Let me walk you through the math that supports this estimate, because the numbers are not speculation. They are derived from publicly available data that anyone can verify. China has been the world's largest gold producer for over a decade. Annual production has averaged approximately 350 tons per year. Chinese law prohibits the export of domestically mined gold. Every ounce produced in China stays in China. Over the past 20 years, that represents approximately 7,000 tons of domestic production that has been added to Chinese holdings. China has also been a major gold importer. The primary import channels are through Hong Kong and Switzerland. Official import data shows approximately 15,000 tons of gold imported over the past 20 years. Some of this gold has gone to the jewelry market and private investment, but the quantities far exceed what can be explained by private demand. The excess represents official accumulation that is not reported in reserve statistics. Additionally, there are import channels that do not appear in official statistics. Gold shipped directly to Beijing rather than through Hong Kong is not captured in Hong Kong customs data. Gold acquired through state-owned enterprises rather than the central bank is not reported as reserves. Gold held by the military and strategic agencies is not included in civilian statistics. Each of these channels represents additional accumulation that is invisible to Western analysts. When you aggregate the domestic production, the visible imports, and the estimated invisible imports, the total accumulation over 20 years exceeds 20,000 tons. This is not a guess. This is the mathematical output of the available data. China has been accumulating gold at a rate of approximately 1,000 tons per year for 2 decades. They have been hiding this accumulation by reporting only a small fraction of the true total. Why would China lie about their gold reserves? The answer reveals everything about their strategy. China has been accumulating gold in preparation for a monetary reset. They understand that the dollar-based system is dying. They understand that the debts are unpayable and the currency is being debased. They understand that the nation that holds the most gold when the reset occurs will have the most power in designing the new system. By lying about their reserves, they accomplished 2 objectives. First, they kept the gold price artificially low by disguising the true demand. If the market knew that China was buying 1,000 tons per year, the price would have been much higher, making subsequent accumulation more expensive. Second, they prevented the West from understanding the strategic threat until it was too late to respond. The West has been selling gold while China has been buying. By the time the West realizes the imbalance, the gold will be in Chinese vaults and there will be no way to get it back. Now let me explain what a reveal of China's true reserves would mean for the global financial system, because this is where the checkmate becomes visible. The current international monetary system is based on the dollar. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. Central banks hold dollars as their primary reserve asset. International trade is denominated in dollars. Commodity prices are set in dollars. The entire architecture of global finance is built on the assumption that the dollar will remain the dominant currency indefinitely. This assumption depends on confidence. Confidence that the United States will manage the dollar responsibly. Confidence that the Federal Reserve will maintain its value. Confidence that the massive debts accumulated by the U.S. government will somehow be resolved without destroying the currency. This confidence has been eroding for years as the debts have grown and the money printing has accelerated. But the erosion has been gradual. The system has continued to function because there was no obvious alternative. China's gold reveal changes everything. A reveal of 20,000 to 30,000 tons would demonstrate that China has been preparing for the end of the dollar system. It would show that the second largest economy in the world does not trust the dollar. It would prove that the smart money has been accumulating gold while the dumb money has been holding paper. The reveal would be a vote of no confidence in the dollar that could not be ignored or explained away. The immediate impact would be a surge in the gold price. The market would have to reprice gold to reflect the true demand that has been hidden for decades. If China has been buying 1,000 tons per year and the market did not know, then the current price does not reflect that demand. The price would have to adjust upward to incorporate the hidden accumulation. Analysts estimate that the reveal could push gold to $5,000, $7,000, even $10,000 per ounce depending on how the market interprets the signal. The secondary impact would be a collapse in confidence in the dollar. If China holds more gold than the United States, then the dollar is backed by less gold than the yuan. The historical relationship, where the dollar was considered more sound than emerging market currencies, would be inverted. Capital would flow out of dollars and into currencies and assets that are backed by real wealth. The flight from the dollar would accelerate the very collapse that China is preparing for. The tertiary impact would be a restructuring of the international monetary system. The Bretton Woods system that established the dollar as the reserve currency is already obsolete. The BRICS nations have been building alternatives. A China gold reveal would provide the catalyst for transitioning from the current system to a new system where gold plays a central role. The nation with the most gold would have the most influence in designing that new system. China would go from challenger to leader in a single announcement. This is why I call it a financial military parade. In a traditional military parade, a nation displays its weapons to demonstrate its power and deter adversaries. China's gold reveal would be a display of monetary weapons. It would demonstrate that China has the financial firepower to challenge the dollar. It would deter adversaries from taking actions that threaten Chinese interests. It would signal to the world that a new monetary order is coming, and China intends to lead it. Now let me connect this to silver because the implications for silver are even more dramatic than for gold. Silver has historically traded at a ratio to gold that averaged around 15 to 1. In recent decades, manipulation has pushed that ratio to extreme levels, sometimes exceeding 80 to 1. The current ratio is approximately 32 to 1. If gold is repriced dramatically higher by a China reveal, silver will follow, but with much greater percentage gains due to ratio compression. Consider the math. If gold goes from $3,200 to $10,000, that is a 200% gain. If the gold-silver ratio compresses from 32 to 15 during the same period, silver would go from $100 to $667. That is a 567% gain. The leverage that silver provides relative to gold is extraordinary during periods of monetary crisis. China understands this leverage. While the focus of most analysts is on China's gold accumulation, there is evidence that China has also been accumulating silver. The data is harder to track because silver has more industrial uses and the flows are more complex. But the Shanghai Futures Exchange has become the dominant physical silver market in the world. The premiums in Shanghai consistently exceed premiums in Western markets. The deliveries from Shanghai warehouses have been draining Western supplies. All of these indicators suggest that China is accumulating silver alongside gold as part of the same strategic preparation. A gold reveal that triggers a gold revaluation would simultaneously trigger a silver revaluation. The silver market is much smaller than the gold market. The available supply is much more constrained. The industrial demand is much more inelastic. When the monetary demand surge hits the silver market, the price impact will be explosive. Silver could move from $100 to $300 in a matter of weeks. It could reach $500 or higher within months. The gains for silver holders would be generational. Let me now explain the geopolitical context because understanding why China would make this move now reveals the urgency of the moment. The relationship between the United States and China has deteriorated dramatically. Trade wars, technology restrictions, military tensions in the South China Sea and Taiwan, sanctions and counter-sanctions. The two largest economies in the world are in a state of Cold War that could turn hot at any moment. In this context, China's gold reveal is a weapon. It is a way to strike at American power without firing a shot. The dollar is the foundation of American global influence. It allows the U.S. to impose sanctions that cripple adversaries. It allows the U.S. to run deficits that would bankrupt any other nation. It allows the U.S. to project military power around the world funded by borrowed money that other nations are forced to accept. Remove the dollar's reserve status and American power collapses. China has been preparing for this moment for decades. The Belt and Road Initiative has built infrastructure and relationships throughout the developing world. The BRICS alliance has created an alternative bloc of nations ready to de-dollarize. The digital yuan has been developed as an alternative payment system. The gold accumulation has built the reserves necessary to back a new monetary order. All of the pieces are in place. The gold reveal is the trigger that activates the strategy. The timing makes sense when you consider the American situation. The United States is in a fiscal crisis that has no solution. The national debt exceeds $37 trillion. The annual deficit exceeds $2 trillion. The interest payments on the debt now consume over $1 trillion per year, more than the defense budget. The Federal Reserve is trapped between inflation and recession, unable to raise rates without crashing the bond market, and unable to lower rates without reigniting inflation. The American financial position has never been weaker. China sees this weakness. They see an opponent that is overextended, overly indebted, and politically paralyzed. They see an opportunity to strike when the adversary is least able to respond. The gold reveal would be the economic equivalent of attacking when the enemy is in disarray. It would maximize the impact and minimize the risk of effective retaliation. The question is not whether China will make this move. The question is when. The intelligence suggests that the timing is imminent. The preparations are complete. The geopolitical conditions are favorable. The American position is weak. All of the factors align for an announcement in the near term. Weeks rather than months, perhaps days. Now let me address what this means for you because understanding the geopolitics is only useful if you know how to position. The China gold reveal, when it comes, will trigger a series of events that will happen faster than most people can react. The gold price will spike before you can buy. The silver price will spike before you can buy. The premiums will expand before you can buy. The physical metal will become unavailable before you can buy. The window for preparation is now, not when the announcement is made, not when the headlines confirm what I am telling you tonight. Now. If you hold physical gold and silver, you are already positioned. The reveal will reward your foresight. Your metal will be revalued overnight, your purchasing power will multiply, your financial security will be assured while others scramble. Do not sell your metal regardless of what happens in the paper markets. The paper price may be volatile as the manipulators fight their last battles. The physical price will only go up. Hold your position. If you do not hold physical gold and silver, you need to acquire some immediately. Not next week. Not when you have more money saved. Not when the price dips. Now. The China reveal could come at any moment. Every day you wait is a day of risk that you are exposed without protection. Buy whatever you can afford. Prioritize silver for the leverage. Accept the premiums. Get metal in your hands before the announcement makes it impossible. If you hold paper assets denominated in dollars, you need to understand the risk you face. The China reveal will trigger a crisis of confidence in the dollar. Paper assets that depend on the dollar's stability will be impaired. Stocks, bonds, bank deposits, retirement accounts, all of them will lose purchasing power as the dollar declines. Consider reducing your exposure to these assets and increasing your allocation to real assets that cannot be debased. If you have wealth stored in the banking system, consider the counterparty risk. Banks are leveraged institutions that depend on confidence. A monetary crisis triggered by the China reveal could stress the banking system in ways that make 2008 look minor. Deposits above the insurance limits are at risk. Even insured deposits may be trapped during bank holidays or bail-in procedures. Holding wealth outside the banking system, in physical metals in your possession, eliminates this counterparty risk. Let me now explain how the reveal might unfold because understanding the choreography helps you anticipate the events. The reveal will not be a simple press release. It will be a carefully orchestrated event designed for maximum psychological impact. China understands the power of symbolism and spectacle. They will stage the reveal to demonstrate strength and inspire awe. I expect the reveal to be announced in conjunction with a major international event, perhaps a BRICS summit, perhaps a special session of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, perhaps a bilateral meeting between China and a key ally. The setting will signal that this is not just a Chinese announcement, but a statement on behalf of a bloc of nations ready to embrace a new monetary order. The announcement itself will include not just the reserve total, but a tour of the vault facilities. China has built gold storage facilities that rival anything in the West. They will show the world the gleaming bars stacked in endless rows. They will provide verification from international auditors. They will make the gold tangible and undeniable. The contrast with the unaudited, unverified claims about Fort Knox will be devastating for American credibility. The announcement will be accompanied by policy proposals. China will not just reveal their gold. They will propose a new international monetary framework that gives gold a central role. They will invite other nations to join. They will offer to help establish gold-backed trade settlement systems. They will position themselves as the leader of a new financial order rather than just a critic of the old one. The market reaction will be immediate and violent. Gold futures will limit up within minutes of the announcement. Silver will follow. The dollar index will plunge. Treasury bonds will sell off. Stock markets will be thrown into chaos. The volatility will exceed anything seen since 2008, possibly 1929. Circuit breakers will trigger. Trading halts will occur. The financial system will shake to its foundations. The political reaction will be denial followed by panic. American officials will initially dismiss the announcement as propaganda. They will claim that Chinese data cannot be trusted. They will insist that the dollar remains sound, but the market will not believe them. The selling will continue. Within days, the denial will give way to emergency measures, rate cuts, QE infinity, possibly capital controls. The desperation will be visible to everyone. The public reaction will be a rush to hard assets. The people who ignored precious metals for years will suddenly want to buy. They will flood the dealer websites. They will line up at coin shops. They will bid up premiums to levels never before seen. Most of them will be too late. The metal will be sold out. The early accumulators, the ones who are watching this video, will have the metal. The latecomers will have regrets. Now let me address the skeptics, because I know that some will say this is too dramatic, too conspiratorial, too far-fetched. They will say that China would never make such a provocative move. They will say that the global financial system is too resilient to be shaken by a single announcement. They will say that the dollar will remain dominant because there is no alternative. To these skeptics, I offer the following response. History is full of moments that seemed impossible until they happened. The fall of the Soviet Union seemed impossible until it happened. The 2008 financial crisis seemed impossible until it happened. The COVID pandemic seemed impossible until it happened. The events that reshape the world always seem far-fetched before they occur. The inability to imagine an event is not evidence that it will not occur. It is evidence of the limits of imagination. China has been preparing for this moment for over 20 years. They have accumulated the gold. They have built the alliances. They have developed the alternatives. They have positioned themselves strategically. They would not have made these preparations if they did not intend to use them. The question is not whether they will act, but when. The dollar's dominance is not based on anything inherent. It is based on confidence. Confidence is psychological. Psychology can shift in an instant. When the shift occurs, it is not gradual. It is sudden and violent. The British pound lost its reserve status not over centuries, but over decades. The transition was painful for Britain and enriching for America. The transition from dollar to whatever comes next will follow the same pattern. The lack of an alternative is itself about to change. The alternative is being constructed right now by China and its allies. The BRICS currency discussions, the gold accumulation, the digital payment systems, the bilateral trade agreements that bypass the dollar. Each of these is a brick in the foundation of the alternative. The China gold reveal would be the unveiling of the completed structure. The alternative will exist the moment China chooses to reveal it. Let me now give you my forward outlook for how this scenario unfolds and what it means for precious metals prices. The reveal, when it comes, will trigger an immediate repricing of gold to between $5,000 and $7,000 per ounce. This initial spike will reflect the shock and the scramble to reposition. Within 3 to 6 months, as the implications become clear and the monetary system begins to restructure, gold will reach $10,000 or higher. The ultimate price depends on how the crisis evolves and whether the transition is orderly or chaotic. Silver will outperform gold during this period due to its smaller market size and greater volatility. An initial spike to $300 per ounce is likely. A subsequent move to $500 or higher is probable. A move to $1,000 per ounce is possible if the monetary crisis becomes severe. The gold-silver ratio will compress from its current level of 32 to something closer to the historical average of 15. This compression amplifies silver's gains relative to gold. The mining stocks will experience gains that exceed the metals themselves due to operating leverage. A silver miner that earns $20 per ounce profit at $100 silver will earn $400 per ounce profit at $500 silver. The margin expansion will be extraordinary. The stock prices will reflect this margin expansion with multiple expansion on top. 10-baggers and 20-baggers will be common among the quality miners. The timeline for these moves is compressed. The initial spike happens in days. The subsequent moves happen in weeks and months. This is not a multi-year process. It is an acute crisis that plays out rapidly. Those who are positioned before the reveal will have time to react and optimize their holdings. Those who are not positioned will be scrambling in a market that is moving too fast to catch. Let me close with perspective on what the China gold reveal represents in the larger arc of monetary history. We are living through the end of an era, the era of unbacked fiat currency, the era of American financial dominance, the era of paper promises substituting for real wealth. This era is ending not because of any single event, but because of the accumulated imbalances that have built up over 50 years, the debts that cannot be repaid, the currencies that have been debased, the trust that has been squandered. The end was always inevitable. The question was only what would trigger it. China's gold reveal is that trigger. It is the event that crystallizes the slow-motion crisis into an acute crisis. It is the moment when the world wakes up and realizes that the emperor has no clothes. It is the checkmate move that ends the game. For those who hold precious metals, this is not a crisis. It is vindication. It is the moment when the patience and the conviction and the sacrifice are rewarded. It is the moment when the wealth that was preserved in metal is recognized as the only real wealth. It is the moment when the stackers become the new financial elite, while the paper holders become the new poor. For those who do not hold precious metals, there is still time. The reveal has not happened yet. The window is still open. Every ounce you acquire between now and the announcement is an ounce that will multiply in value. Every day you wait is a day of risk. The choice is yours, but the choice must be made now. China is preparing to reveal their real gold reserves. The financial military parade is being organized. The checkmate move is being prepared. When it lands, the world will never be the same. This has been Silver Storm Daily. China is preparing to reveal real gold reserves that could exceed 20,000 tons. The reveal will trigger a revaluation of gold and silver that will create generational wealth for those who hold physical metal. The reveal could come at any time. Position now. Hold physical gold and silver. Prepare for the monetary reset that is imminent. Like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone who needs to understand what China is preparing and what it means for the global financial system. The checkmate is coming. Be on the right side of the board when it lands. See you in the next report.